You're watching Panorama News live from Cairo. Thank you so much for joining Panorama News. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. I'm Mona Swelam with the political segment of Panorama News, and we start with the headlines. President Sisi participates in the UN Climate Summit in Paris. Syria's Assad says his enemies are increasing support for insurgents. And Turkey is to help the EU curb migration in exchange for cash and EU membership talks. Welcome back, those with headlines. Now the details. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi arrived in Paris on Sunday, starting a three-day official visit to France to participate in the UN Climate Summit. At his residence in Paris, President el-Sisi met with his Iraqi counterpart Fouad Massoum. They discussed means of enhancing bilateral relations. The Iraqi president praised Egypt's role in maintaining regional security and stability. El-Sisi is to address the opening session of the UN Climate Summit on behalf of the African leaders. He will emphasize Africa's support for the climate change agreement. Presidential spokesman Ala Yousef said that President el-Sisi's participation is highly important because he is presiding the Presidential African Committee in charge of the climate change file, and Egypt is the chair of the African Environmental Ministerial Summit. With the UN Climate Summit due to start on the outskirts of Paris on Monday, security across France is tight and rallies have been banned. The Arab Women Organization started a three-day conference in Cairo on Sunday. The conference focuses on the status of Arab women, highlighted by a development agenda that was ratified by the Arab League in 2014. The conference is held in cooperation with the Arab League and the UN Development Programme, UNDP. The sessions shed light on challenges facing Arab women, as well as available opportunities and solutions. British Defence Minister Michael Fallon said on Sunday that his government has yet to garner the support it needs to win parliamentary approval for launching airstrikes against Daesh militants in Syria. British Prime Minister David Cameron has said it's time to join the airstrikes against Daesh, which claimed responsibility for killing 130 people in Paris earlier this month. But several of his own Conservative Party and some lawmakers in the opposition Labour Party are wary of entering into another war in the Middle East after Western intervention in Iraq, Afghanistan and Libya failed to bring stability to the region. Fallon said the government was holding talks with Labour lawmakers and it was still building the case for extending airstrikes beyond Iraq, where it already supports US-led attacks. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad told a senior Iranian official on Sunday that his adversaries had increased weapon supplies and financial support to insurgents since the start of a major offensive aided by his allies to regain lost territory. Assad was quoted by state media as telling Ali Akbar Velayati, a top advisor to Iran's supreme leader, that the military support his country was getting from Iran and Russia had pushed the enemy states to further escalate and increase financing and equipping of terrorists. The Syrian army said on Saturday that Turkey had increased supplies of weapons, ammunition and equipment to what it described as terrorists in Syria. The senior Iranian official was quoted as saying that his country would continue to support Syria as the war against terror was a decisive one for the region and the world. Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoğlu said Sunday that the body of a Russian pilot killed when his plane was shot down by Turkey last week will be handed over to a Russian representative after being retrieved from Syria. Davutoğlu said that the pilot who lost his life was received on the Syrian border last night. Russian President Vladimir Putin called for sanctions against Turkey following the downing of the Russian warplane this week by Turkey. The decree published on the Kremlin's website came hours after Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had voiced regret over the incident, saying his country was truly saddened by the event and wished it had not occurred. RIA news agency cited Russian sports minister Vitaly Mutko as saying on Sunday that Russian athletes will participate in tournaments organized in Turkey with maximum security ensured. Russia introduced a series of punitive economic sanctions against Turkey on Saturday after Turkey shot down a Russian warplane early in the week. Mutko said that the measures that Russia is taking against Turkey will not impact the calendar of international sports federations. Yemeni loyalists supported by a Saudi-led coalition battled Sunday to oust Iran-backed rebels from a southern province where they have made gains in recent weeks, with at least 16 reported dead. Military sources said that ground fighting and air strikes by a Saudi-led coalition killed 12 rebels in Daleh province. 4 loyalists were also killed. Daleh is one of 5 southern provinces which the coalition-backed loyalists retook from the rebels in a July offensive. But the Shiite Houthi rebels and their allies managed to recapture the province's second-largest city, Damt, early this month. In the oil-rich Marib province, east of the capital Sana'a, coalition strikes on rebel military vehicles meanwhile killed 8 militiamen. The African Union has warned that South Sudan's repeatedly broken peace deal is at a critical stage, calling on rival forces to honor commitments amid fears it's close to collapse. The AU Commission chief warned that all sides must abide by the commitments they have entered into under the peace agreement, including the permanent ceasefire. Internationally backed ceasefire monitors of the August 26th deal held their first meeting Friday, but with battles raging, rebels failed to attend. He said the rebels must ensure that they attend subsequent meetings of the Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission set up by East Africa's IGAD bloc. The United States, Britain and Norway, key backers of the peace process, have warned that the deal will unravel if the rivals continue to miss deadlines. Central African Republic's interim president, Catherine Samba-Panza, on Sunday asked for forgiveness from Pope Francis for 2 years of evil sectarian violence she dubbed a descent into hell. More than 12,000 peacekeepers are deployed in the impoverished former French colony, including in Bangui, where Francis will spend just over 24 hours. The details. Protected by the heaviest security ever seen on his trips, Pope Francis on Sunday preached reconciliation in the divided Central African Republic.